Good evening and welcome to News Geelong here on our midweek edition, and we're on location in the Veterans Lounge, sitting back and enjoying some great history of our Australian nation throughout the theatres of war. News Geelong this week, Healthy Bones Week, puts the spotlight on the importance of calcium that plays a part in the foods in the prevention of osteoporosis. In Regional Roundup tonight, we'll look at stories making news in and around Geelong and District. With sport, we've got Mitch Scoop Cleary, more of Mitch Scoop Cleary, after his great performance at the weekend leading his Colts, but other general sport as well. And the world of weather will bring you up to date with what we can expect with the weather conditions that lie ahead as we draw winter to a close around Geelong and District over the next 6 days. The City of Greater Geelong is revamping the play area near Cunningham Pier with a new maze that will have a lookout, a slide, a rope net, talking tubes and a rock boulder seating area for parents. Our resident playground expert Ian Nichols reports.
Well, they say my fortunes have been on the slide for years, but this is a slide of a different kind. It's on the waterfront at Geelong, but it's all going to change very soon. There's to be a major makeover of the kids' playground here, just west of Cunningham Pier. We're talking with the stakeholders in this adventure, Councillor Barbara Abley and the council staff who are taking control of this very innovative project.
I think not only the kids will love it, but I think the parents, the grandparents and other adults who'll be coming down here to use this facility too. This is going to be completely rejuvenated and renovated, and it's next door, of course, to the very famous Poppy Kettle, so what better place? But what you see now, certainly in a couple of months' time, will be completely changed, provide a lot more opportunities for children and a lot more adventures for kids.
Well, we're talking with Andrew Ross, who's the waterfront coordinator. Andrew, this is going to be quite a makeover by the look of things.
Yes, it will. It's council's contributing $130,000 to the project, and it's going to be a major improvement, and also will complement the youth activity area, which has been a successful area of the waterfront for youth. So it continues on that theme of a very high class facility. And are we likely to see it all up and running by Christmas, do you think? Oh, certainly. Contractors are ready to start right as we speak, actually. So I'd expect, weather permitting, late October, early November, it should be ready for kids to play on.
Oh, that sounds great. In time for...
Well, the contractors are virtually on site. They're just out of camera range here, ready for us to take off so they can move in. Bump out and bump in.
Yeah. I like bumping in. I love that. A good old showbiz expression. Yeah. They've taken down all the cyclone fencing. I thought that was just for the press today.
Yeah, no, your turn.
Well, yes. Tom Leggett is a landscape architect. Yep. And you'd have a pretty big role in the whole makeover here.
Oh, there is a team of us that came up with this, and we just didn't want to do the same old bung in an old playground, that's a standard thing, and wanted to do something different because the waterfront has so many incredibly good quality surfaces and so on, so we wanted to try and keep that standard up. And so we've created a one-off, really, and using the inspiration of the paths that children have made in the hill already, we've gone off that to continue.
At the site of the new waterfront playground here in Geelong, this is Ian Nichols for News Geelong.
Thanks, Nico. Yes, he's king of the kids. Barwon Health's clinical trials unit has been involved in osteoporosis research for more than 20 years. And the research continues as the clinical trials unit is currently recruiting for a new osteoporosis treatment. Osteoporosis is a disease in which bones become fragile and brittle and may be silent within our bodies for many years. Ian Nichols has more.
Well, this week is Healthy Bones Week, and we're at the Clinical Trials Department of Barwon Health, where Associate Professor Mark Kotovich is going to tell us about osteoporosis.
We've been doing trials here for about 20 years, and during that time have explored a whole range of new investigational products, many of which have come to market and are now benefiting patients with osteoporosis.
Well, we know that calcium, as a layperson, is one of the most important ingredients. Is that the focus of your trials?
No, we're looking at agents that actually alter the bone biology. Calcium's an important component of bone health, but has relatively minor effects compared to the agents that we're looking at.
We know that you can find ways of perhaps helping, but there's no known cure for osteoporosis.
That's correct at this time. Hopefully, as we develop a greater understanding of the biology of bone, we will be able to develop a cure, but that's still some time off, I would think.
Well, it's a good idea to promote Bone Healthy Week, because if you don't have healthy bones, your life is going to be very miserable, isn't it?
That's true. Fractures cause considerable pain and disability, and there's even evidence that osteoporosis fractures are associated with an increased risk of mortality. So addressing osteoporosis should be a health priority.
Now, men and women, what's the ratio who suffer from this debilitating disease?
About 2 to 3 times more women than men will suffer from osteoporosis. Depending on how you define it, our figures show that about 25% of women rather, and about 5% of men over the age of 50 have osteoporosis based on bone density scan findings.
Well, now we know people can help themselves. Before we go any further, there's a lot of perhaps ignorance, if you like, about how you should look after your bones.
There are a number of things that people can do. The first thing we've already alluded to would be maintaining an adequate dietary calcium intake, and the dairy board's advertisements on the TV that suggest 3 serves of dairy food a day represents about the minimum amount of calcium people should be having on a day-to-day basis. Maintaining adequate vitamin D levels is an important consideration, and the best source of vitamin D is sunlight, but in the absence of adequate exposure to sunlight, the use of vitamin D supplements comes into play. And remaining fit and healthy and exercising also has benefits in terms of skeletal health.
So we should be combining all of those things and not just taking them in isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah, now you can ask your GP for a bone density check. Is that a good thing to do if you feel there is a problem?
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Certainly we can now do bone density scans in individuals aged over 70 that's reimbursed by Medicare, and in those younger than 70, if they have risk factors for osteoporosis, those scans are also reimbursed. But a bone density scan is not an expensive test. It's about $100 for a scan, depending on the provider, and one can learn about one's bone health through having a bone density scan.
Well, the bottom line is your research over a long period of time. What have been the main findings?
The principal finding, or the principal advances that we've seen associated with our research here, are the introduction of the bisphosphonate drugs into clinical practice, and the introduction of the selective estrogen receptor modulator raloxifene into clinical practice, and most recently a medication called Prolia, which has come to market about 2 years ago.
So there's every possibility that even further new developments will introduce new panaceas for this?
Absolutely. We're currently recruiting for another study involving a medication with a novel mode of action in the treatment of osteoporosis. In early studies it's looked very promising, and we're now at the stage where we're part of a multinational study recruiting large numbers of women to see just how effective it is in preventing fracture in osteoporosis, and of course equally importantly to establish that the medication is safe.
At Barwon Health's Clinical Trials Department, this is Ian Nichols for News Geelong.
This is News Geelong, our midweek edition on this Wednesday night. We're going to take a break and be back with more news after this.